Hi and welcome to the channel. Now I normally do a bit of vintage hi-fi, some budget vintage hi-fi, some stuff you can go and buy at a relatively cheap price still these days and get a reasonable quality sound out of it, and probably picking, the good ones from the bad ones, maybe something like that, trying to get some bargains maybe without spending too much money. And that's what this channel's all about, not spending too much money. And I won't bring another one or two items on the old hi-fi, but it will be one or two. I've pretty much told the story. I've mended so much stuff. I've repaired this. I've set the bias on this. I've told you what to look out for, some rust around the sides, all that kind of stuff on the hi-fi. Not got much else to give. I'm not going to go and buy any more stuff. I've been offered, a couple of people now have offered to send me some stuff in, but it's more higher range. My channel's budget. I don't want to get too involved because them videos don't get many hits anyway. It's mainly the repair stuff and all that. But what I would thought I'd bring to the channel is something completely different here. It's computers. Now, and it's budget computers. It's some cheap computers you can go and buy. And they're not vintage. They're not 50 years old like some of the hi-fi I'm buying and bought and review. But these are still reasonably old. And I just want to be, give you an idea of some pitfalls you're going to go and buy. You may see something cheap on eBay now and get caught out a little bit later on. So I'm really going to talk all about that in this video. Now, I just want to stipulate straight away, I am no expert. Don't think I'm an expert, but I've had PCs since day one, basically. Since they first come out, I went out and paid silly money for PCs, didn't get on with them, couldn't suss them out, sold them to friends, mates. It was one person watching now who knows full well that I sold him PCs. I sold them, but I couldn't get on with it. But over persistence and PCs getting better over time, from going from DOS up to Windows 95 and so forth through the stages, and now we've got Windows 11 out at the moment. I've kind of progressed, picked a few things up, and obviously them operating systems coming out has made life easier for everyone really to use a PC. So this is the kind of PCs that I'm going to be talking about here, mainly because these are the budget kind of PCs, the cheap PCs. These are PCs you're going to get for £100, maybe just a little bit more on eBay, maybe some of them a lot less, that hopefully are going to tide you over to do what you want it to do. So just got to bear in mind, I'm trying to give you some ideas what you can do with them, what you can't do with them, what to look out for, all that kind of stuff. This is some information that people maybe ain't telling you, because you're going to see tons of these, especially these DELL optiPlex or optiPlex. I may not get the names completely right, but you can see what they are. This is a 790, this is a 380. These are called a small form factor case, SFF. They do a smaller one. There's a little smaller one, and there's an even smaller one than that. These are the ones I'm going to be concentrating on. These are the ones you always see on eBay. These are non-stop on eBay, and I don't want you to get caught out. I'm not saying there's some shysters and all that on eBay. I'm just trying to hopefully pick the best of what is there, of this, which for some people cool. I've got friends here that would, a PC, if it didn't cost £2 it's a load of rubbish. So some people would call these crap, but they're not crap. You can get something still out of these machines, and they sell by the bucket loads, absolute bucket loads on eBay. These are like some of my speakers I've had, and speakers that everyone bought when I bought at the time. They're the best selling kind of speakers. These would probably be the best selling computers on eBay at the moment. They're selling by the bucket loads. I do talk a lot, so you're going to have to bear with me. But if you want to pick up a few things, I think it's worth staying around. I really do. Right, okay. So what are you going to pay for these, what they are and all that? I'm going to try and explain. These are the small form factor ones. Now these range, you're going to see some of these for about 40 quid. And you're going to see some of these for about 250 quid. And they're going to look pretty much the same. It's just what's inside them that's different. And this is what I want to talk about. Be careful. Don't start paying big money, because these are old. These are old. This is a bit newer, but these are old. These machines here, and the ones on eBay you're probably going to see, depending what processor, what's in them, could be 15, 18 years old machines. They could be quite old machines. This here is about 8 years old. And there's some pitfalls in buying these old machines. Still a bit of a pitfall on this one. This is 8 years old, but not so much. You know what I mean? You expect your PC to last a while. Don't forget, these have come out of offices where these have been used non-stop, probably in an office as well. I don't want to put people off buying them, because I've bought these. I've had these probably about 8 years, these two here, something like that. And they've done me proud. I've just changed recently to a couple of these. We'll talk about as we go along. But anyway, let's get onto these. We'll talk about these DELL ones here at the moment, and you'll see some HP ones as well. They kind of, some sellers got on there, they're not too sure what they're going to give you. You buy it, it's got the RAM, it's got the memory, it's got all that kind of stuff, the hard drive, but you may get one of these or an HP version, something like that. I do like the DELL ones, I must admit, even though I bought an HP here, but I do like the DELL ones. So let's look at the DELL ones. This is what I'm going to be concentrating on. Like I say, this could be a long video. We're going to talk about bit by bit. Now, first of all, you're going to be offered a processor in these, and this will give you maybe a little bit of a clue how old it is, maybe just a little bit, not too much of a clue maybe, is it's probably going to range from an Intel Core i3 up to maybe an i7, some of them may up to an i9, but I think about i7 is probably going to be the one. And next to that i7 you're going to get a number like 2, it may be 2,400, it may be 3,700, and that will give you an indication of if it's first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh generation. That means they brought out one, say for an i3 processor, they brought out the first batch, then they slightly improved it, and the second batch, second generation, third generation, fourth generation, fifth generation, so on. And the higher generation, the faster and better it should be. So, and also the newer it's going to be. So that'll give you an idea. You may think, well, this machine's 16 years old, but as that's with an generation 2, shall we say, generation 7, it's going to be a little bit newer. It's not going to be vastly newer, but you know, it's going to be a few years younger, shall we say. So that's that. So you're going to get your choice of your processor. And these days, it depends what you're doing. It's really, it's a really open field here. So it's really hard to narrow down what you want to do. But we're going to be talking about, I'm going to be talking about someone who's buying this maybe for their daughter to do their own work at school or something like that, or you want to browse around eBay, Vinted and places like that. You may want to do a little bit of gaming on it, but these are not really for a general purpose person is not going to buy these for gaming, I don't think. But people like I know, and I did before, spent thousands and thousands on PCs, I really did, bought it for gaming back then, and we'll talk about that a bit later on as the video goes. But at the moment we're talking about a bit of word processing, going on the internet, doing the school homework, that kind of stuff where you need a PC for. And these play DVDs as well with the appropriate software. But I think I'm going to not touch so much on that because that's a dying trend now. We've got USB stick here, so you can plug a USB stick in here for transporting your own work from school or whatever your files about. Most people use a USB stick. So that's on these, and this one's got 4 at the front. This one's just got 2 at the front, but you will find a host of them at the back, another 3 or 4 at the back as well. So don't worry too much if they're not at the front. It may just be a bit awkward if you need to plug it in at the back. If you use, don't forget, because your mouse and keyboard is going to use up 2 straight away. You can have either a remote mouse, a Bluetooth mouse, or one with a piece of wire is going to take up 1, and your keyboard is going to take up another, so 2. So these 2 here will get gobbled up straight away. And if you're using, say, a memory stick or something like that, or a USB stick, you want to plug it in, your first 2 are going to be gobbled up, so you're going to have to start plugging it in the back. Though you could plug in your keyboard at the back. Best to do that really is if you've got a keyboard, maybe not plug it at the front, plug it at the back, keeps one free. This one's got 4, so you've got a little bit more of an option. That's just that. I'm touching on basics here. It's going to be a lengthiest video, but I'm going to tell you what to look out for, what not to buy, what to look out for, what people are going to, I'm not going to say stripe you up, but they're going to try and push you away, and you're going to have no idea. You're going to have no idea, and you're going to, you know, I'm trying to separate the good machines from the not so good machines here. So I'm touching on this. This is not a big deal really, but just wanted to let you know about the CD and USBs. It's not a big deal. Here comes the big deal stuff now. Is what you're going to get inside this machine. Now, this one is not opened up. I want to open up one inside to give you an idea of what we're talking about here. I don't want to get too complicated because this is for basic people, no expert, so I'm not going to get too complicated because I only know so much anyway. But I'm going to know enough, I would have thought, to help you basic people out that's looking for a machine and what to look out for. And it did apply to the vintage stuff. You know, the older it gets, the more chance you've got of problems, and you may get a few problems here. I'm going to pick out a few as we go along. But first of all, the first thing, you're going to see a load of figures on the screen. You've got the i3, i4, i7, and you're going to have the different generations. So go to your budget, but also look around, try and find out which is giving you the better. Write them down, i3, i4. I'd go for an i5. I'd start off at an i5, I think, really. Something like that. Just gives you a little bit more power than the i3. There's not a great deal of difference, but I'd go for that. They're reasonably priced. They seem to be bog standard these days. Everyone seems to start off on an i5 when selling these on eBay. So i5, try and get maybe not second generation, but get 4th, 5th generation. You can, kind of things to go in that direction, but it's not a deal breaker here. It's not a deal breaker. Just going for what the more you can get for your money, so the higher you can go. So that is on the processor. I'm going to just lightly touch on that. But what I'm going to say about the processor here now we've got it here is I'm going to show you where it is on the board. I haven't got it taken out, but it's behind this fan. See this fan here, and it's got a massive, great big heatsink at the back. And I've got one of these spare in the garage. I didn't bother getting it out, but behind that you're going to have to trust me. On that board, this is called the circuit board here. On the board is the chip, it's the processor, it's only a thin thing, sits on the board. This keeps it nice and cool. Okay, now, as these are old machines, this fan is on this heatsink, and this heatsink is pushed together with these springs here on the board And in between this and the process is a bit of heat paste. It's called, you know, heat transfer paste. And over the years, especially 15 years now, which this machine is, it dries out. That anything wet with heat, this generates heat, over a period of time will dry out. And that gets brittle when it dries and doesn't make such a good contact. And a good indication of this, I think, is if you've got your PC on and it's not really doing a lot, and this fan's whizzing around 100 miles an hour making a lot of noise, it means the processor's getting warm. It's not doing much, just a bit of maybe word processing or looking around on eBay or something like that. And it's getting a little bit warm. It's trying to cool down, but the transfer's not getting onto the actual processor itself because that paste is dried out. So I would say these machines here, I wouldn't go for personally myself. I'd get something a bit newer. There's plenty of these on eBay. There is a way maybe of telling if it's a bit newer. It's like, say, if it's got a different drive in it. We're going to come to that, but I'd pretty much stay clear of these machines now. These are getting on a bit, and it's so many more pitfalls I'm talking about. We just started here really. So that's the main one there, is the processor can get a bit hot. And if that transfer, and over a period of time, you could kill it off. It could be a while, it could last ages, it could be just enough that fan, just enough contact there to keep it cool enough. But if you're doing intense graphic work, this may sound like an Hoover or something like that, go really, really fast. So that's that. So just be a bit careful. If you're getting one of these kind of Dell machines, they're quite old now. I just want to emphasise that. Now, some buyers do say they've repasted this, so look out for that. Some people may say the processor's been repasted. You're taking it on a bit of trust like anything else. So that's that. Now, the next thing you're going to talk about is memory. And that's this stuff here. It says how much memory it's got in the machine. And it'll go something like 4, 8, 16, 32, 64 gigabyte GB. It'll be something like that. And now the minimum you would want really is 8. Well, I'm talking about, most people would say 16, 32 meg, but we're talking about a budget machine here. The more you can get for your money, the better. You know what I mean? So write these things down, and the higher you can go in each category, when you compare one machine against another on eBay, the more you can get, the better it is, obviously. But we're talking about people with a tight budget here, who want to spend £50 to £100 on a machine, something like that. Like I say, for the homework, for the kids, eBay, all that kind of stuff. Try and get 8 gig minimum. Don't go for these 4 gig ones now. These are very dated. These are old machines with 4 gig, very old machines. 8, 16 just tells you it's a little bit, probably a little bit, a tad newer, not much, but it's maybe just a little bit newer. So 4 gig there is not one to have. Start off a minimum of 8 gig memory. Next thing you're going to come across is the hard drive here. It's going to say how big this hard drive is. So that's the next thing. And this is going to start off, I'm guessing a little bit, about 250 gigabyte. And it may go up to 2, 3, 4 tetrabytes TB, from gigabytes to tetrabytes. 250 gigabytes, okay. Would it indicate, now what I'm talking about here is a standard disk. I don't want to get confused with the newer disks. This is a standard disk, and it'll just say, the hard drive is 250 gigabyte. If it was a newer disk, it'll mention it. It'll say it's SSD. It's an SSD disk, a newer disk, or these even newer disks, which I think are called N3s, they're like on a stick, a little stick. It will mention that. So if it is one of them, expect it to be less, because they're more expensive. So without getting too complicated, these are the cheapest. This is SSD. This is the next up in the bracket, and the dearer one, which I haven't got, is a little kind of stick, is even dearer. So if they're dearer, to keep costs down and all that kind of stuff, you get, say, maybe 1 tetrabyte, say here, but for the same kind of money you may only get half a tetrabyte or 500 gig here, and on the newer ones only get 256 gigabyte, so a quarter of what's on the big one because of the cost. So if you're offered one, if you see one that's got one of these in, these are quite slow now by today's standards, 250 gigabyte, and it's one of these. It doesn't say it's SSD, it doesn't say it's NV. You know you've got one of these. It's pretty poor. And now another thing they do, I've had 1 or 2 machines, because I bought these over the years for different people and that, where they cheat a little bit of cheating going on. They say it's, because this is a 3.5 inch disc, by the way, 3.5 inch disc. You may not look it, but that's what it is. They may say it's on a 2.5 inch disc, but they may not mention that. I've had them where they don't mention that. You think you're getting this and you're getting this. Now this looks like one of them SSDs, but it isn't. This is a metal case. This is just a normal drive. It's a smaller version of this, and it runs a lot slower. It's like waiting for the postman to arrive. When's he going to come? When's he going to turn up? That kind of thing. If you open the machine up, which I'll do in another video, we'll do a video with opening it up and this, that and the other, and what you can change and what you can clean and all that kind of stuff. But if you opened it up and you found this inside, send it straight back. You don't want this. This is crap. This really is crap. So even though you're paying next to nothing for your machine, garbage. Get rid of this. It's too slow. If you're paying cheap, if you've got it really cheap, you want the minimum of that. And obviously the bigger it is, maybe slightly newer, because it doesn't mean it is, because the drives come out, but you know, the higher you go up, they come out a little bit later, some of them. So it's just a little bit newer, not vast. You're not talking from 16 years old to a year old. You're probably 16 years old to 15 years old, but you know, you're getting a little bit newer. That's what I'm saying. So that's a drive you can kind of put up with if you're really on a tight budget. But most of them these days come with one of these, an SSD. They come with an SSD, and like I say, come with this Envy as well. But this comes with an SSD, and this is faster. This is a lot faster than that old drive. It is newer. It's not vastly newer, but it is newer. Well, it is vastly newer because they've been out yonks. It is newer. I mean, these, just to put it in perspective, these probably go back 30, 40 years, so I'm guessing a little bit, but something like that. And these don't. These go back probably 10 years or so, maybe a little bit longer. I'm not too sure exactly, but you can see what I'm saying. It is a newer drive. So if you see one of these, it's probably going to be less than what they're offering with that. But it depends what you want to do, how much you want to store on there. Now, I would say you're going to see machines from 256 gigabyte probably up to a terabyte, something like that, with one of these SSDs. This is kind of like what the going range is. You're probably going to struggle to get a terabyte one for under £100. But if you know, get as big as you can with these. You know, when you're writing it down, you're going to have to write each stage down, the checklist kind of thing: memory, processor, storage. And the more you can get for each for your money, the better. SSD be great because it's going to be faster. It's going to be a little bit newer than that, so you know your machine's a little bit newer. But they stick these in these old machines. Don't forget, you can have a newer drive-ish, but in an older machine. I still think that the time's up on these machines. I'm going to annoying a lot of eBay sellers now by saying I think the time's up on these machines. I think they are. I mean, obviously they brought these models, just, you know, probably went on beyond 16 years ago. Some of them may have only finished a few years back, but you've got to be careful what you're buying. We're going to come to that again in a minute. It's more clues coming up. But yeah, so go for the most you can. Minimum 256 gigabyte, because Windows takes up space. And with Windows on it and all that, I think you're probably going to leave yourself with about 180 gig, something like that. Which is okay for document work, all that kind of stuff, a bit of kids' homework and that. If you're going to start installing apps and programs, you're going to run out of some space. And it isn't easy in these particular machines to add a new drive. There's not much base space here to slide extra things in. We'll come to that in another video, but you can get past this. You can just have the operating system on this, the Windows on this, and install and save all your other stuff onto another drive, or even onto a USB stick or an external drive. It's too much to mention all in one video, but I would say 256 is the minimum you want now on this drive here, this SSD or NV drive as well. They do a little pen stick drive, NV. So that's another one. A lot to take in here. I know there's a lot to take in here. Hopefully I'm going to give you some kind of clues here. So now, what is the next clue, Mick, of how old my machine is, how old I'm looking at? Now, these machines here, I've got here, and I think pretty much all of them you're going to see in eBay, these kind of Dell looking machines. Just turn it around a minute. These here are not Windows 11 compatible. That means Windows 11 is the current system, and by the end of this year, I think it's August, Windows 10 is kaput. You're going to have to pay an extra £30 a year, I think it is, and this may only continue for another year or two while people upgrade to Windows 11. These are not compatible. Doesn't mean they can't be upgraded to Windows 11, don't get me wrong, but these are not compatible with Windows 11, Microsoft say. Their minimum processor, I think, is a 10th generation Intel. I think it's something like, I could be wrong, could be 12 generation, something like that anyway. But it's not this. It's not this second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh generation. They're not compatible, them processors. But we can still get Windows 11 on here. And what you're going to see is when people sell these, have a look for some stickers and what operating system's on there. Now you may see a machine like this. You may not see that. It's got Windows 7 written on there, even though I had Windows 10 on it. And this is what some sellers do. They have Windows 7 sticker on it, but they put Windows 10 on there. So you've got Windows 10, going to last you to August. If you want to keep the updates security-wise, if you've got your banking details, for instance, on there, you're going to have to upgrade, really, to Windows 11. Oh, sorry, you're going to have to upgrade, but you can't. You can, but you can't. We just say you can't for the moment. So you're going to have to pay that 30-year license to get another year's worth of updates and the following year, and it probably fizzle out after that, so you're going to be stuck with it after then, I think. So I've got Windows 7, so this is obviously pre-Windows 8, pre-Windows 10, so it just shows you how old the machine is, a clue there how old it is. Got a Windows 8 sticker, you know it's an old machine. A Windows 10 sticker, you know it's an old machine. It may just be not quite as old as the ones that have got 7 and 8 written on them, so just some clues here. But like I say, I'll stick. My advice is probably to stay away from these Dell ones now. This particular Dell machine, it won't be for me at any price now. And what the video's saying here, this is what I'm looking at on eBay, and because a couple of people now and again ask me, it's not that often, but can you get a machine for me, Mick? I don't really know which one to buy. You know more about it than I do. Is that don't waste silly money where someone's put in a 4 terabyte hard drive. Got the latest memory, 32GB memory and whatever, i7 processor, and they're £240 that could dry up at any stage, could give you problems. It's not a true Windows 11 machine which is coming round the corner. Now, some of these have got Windows 11 on it. How comes that then, Mick? What's happening there? You told us it's not in a Windows 11 machine? Well, it isn't. They've cheated. There's a bypass. You can get bypassed. When you go to upgrade it from 10 to 11, Microsoft does a check on your machine. And they say, sorry Mick, your machine's not compatible. We can't upgrade it. There's a trick. You can get past that. I'm not going to show you it here, but there is a trick you can do to get bypast that. But in a few months' time, when you've got used to it, and that, who's to say that Microsoft are not going to say, well, we know your machine's not compatible. We did warn you. There's some software coming out that you may need, some security features, all that. You may need that your machine can't do. So just be a bit careful. I would say it's probably a little bit doubtful, that business, because I've invested, not a lot, I've invested in newer machines. So it may not happen. I don't think it will happen, but that's only my opinion. You can have, people, anyone leave some comments down the bottom may well disagree with me, and I'm not going to prove them wrong. I'm not going to prove them right because I don't know. But I'm happy enough to say that, when I got this Windows 7 upgraded to 10, it kept on going. I had no problems. It downloaded all the updates. There's worries about all that kind of stuff. I think they're going to be fine. But what I'm saying is, if you went and bought one and it's got Windows 10 on it now, you're not going to be able to do it easily up to 11. You're not going to be able to upgrade it. And like I say, you're going to lose some security features. You can go and buy one of these with 11 on it, which I'll probably suggest if you're going to use it. I'd get one with 11 on it if it's got 11. But that's only if you're going to go and buy. If you're really desperate to go and buy one of these, don't spend a fortune. If you're going to go and if you have to get one of these, like I say, this is my main concern now, because I took a couple apart recently because I've upgraded. It was dry as a bone. It was dry as a bone, and I had people would say in my videos, done a few videos here and there over the years, oh, I can hear your PC in the background, Mick, and it wasn't doing anything. And this was the reason. This fan was going 100 mile an hour, just trying to keep the PC cooled down. Notice it's much more in the summer, because obviously the PC gets hotter in the summer. So that's it. This is the video, just warning you, don't spend silly money on one of these old Dells or old HPs. Don't forget HP is one of them. This is a newer machine here. You probably can't see it now because I moved it all across. But these are big lumps as well, Mick. You pulled out some big lumps here. Yes, I have, because the reason is this is the most popular on eBay. These two here, and the smaller, they do a smaller version, like I say, a smaller mini, they may call it, or smaller form factor. I can't remember the actual name of these. They're quite chunky, but they're the most popular. People buy these, so I just wanted to kind of give that warning. And maybe upset a few sellers as well. I'm going to say I'm talking a complete load of rubbish, but as long as you don't pay too much, this is the thing, because you can afford maybe to lose that thing. I've only paid 50 or 60 quid for it. It lasts me a couple of years or a year. I'm going to be happy with that. But what I would say is, don't get caught up in that. It's an i7, it's got this in it, it's got that in it, and all that kind of stuff. It's got masses of memory, and all of a sudden the processor lets you down or something. And especially if it's got one of these old hard drives as well. These conk out now. I've had two recently. Cock out? They haven't cocked out. They've conked out. Well, I could have conked out, but yeah, cocked out. But they conked out. Two of them recently. So just be a bit careful on these machines that got these old drives in now, especially when they're only 250 gigabyte, 500 gigabyte, and 1 terabyte. They're the ones that I've been having trouble with, that kind of range. So they do go. Obviously, these other drives do go over a period of time, but the old one obviously more prone to it. There is other upgrades you can do with this. I've just kept this as basic. You will just one other thing I want to mention, you will get some that say these are gaming machines and all that, you're going to think, oh, I'm tempted there, because it's a gaming machine there, Nick, and it's going to be one of these old ones. They're going to say it's a gaming machine. Now, I'll take a picture of this motherboard, but this motherboard is pretty bare. You've just got your memory here, you've got your hard drive here, you've got your processor here, and your power supply down the bottom here, your power. And don't forget, these are old as well. These can go, these power supplies, didn't touch on that. So be a bit careful. 16 years old, these can go, the capacitors and here can go as well. Be a bit careful. It's not a big deal because you can buy some spare ones, but if you're not too involved with electronics and that, maybe a bit tricky for you to put in, I don't know. But these gaming ones would have something which is called a graphics card. I'll do this in another subject, but they have one of these fitted to it. These cost extra money, obviously, this is extra. And they have that plonked in, and it'll sit somewhere around about there like that in the machine, and it'll give you an output. Oh, one other thing I haven't touched on actually, the output. They have one of them in for gaming. I'll still be a bit wary. Old machines, don't forget. Now, just one more thing. We're talking about gaming and connections and all that. Just lucky I did, because I forgot all about this. If you want to connect this up to your TV, you haven't got a dedicated monitor. When I say a dedicated monitor, an oldish or maybe newish monitor that's got a connection for a PC, because this has got a few connections out, and some of them have only got one connection out, which is this like D. I'll do a picture of it on the screen there now. This D type connector, and you need a special lead for that to go into your TV, and your TV, let's keep it simple, would have to have one of these on the other end as well, without you maybe buying a special lead. If you can get one, I think you can, on this particular socket here. So make sure your monitor or TV has got that socket on it. Just be a bit careful. Also, just go underneath that actually, these three bottoms here, this is the sound. The sound of this will come out, as you're buying this unit off of eBay, the sound will come out the bottom here. On the green one, you'll have to connect that up to your TV or monitor or a separate pair of speakers separately. Separate pair of speakers is easier. So it gets really, really complicated here. That's why a lot of people put what's this called a graphics card in, if they're lumbered with just this connection here, with this D type, because these graphics cards have got an HDMI out, which will send the sound through the HDMI as well as the picture, and you'll be able to plug it into a normal HDMI TV. Now, lucky enough, a little bit newer than maybe one or two others on there, still 16 years old, but there's some 20 years old now that's only got this socket. This is slightly newer, it's got an HDMI built in, so we're laughing here, our sound will come out of this HDMI, and also we're about to plug this straight into our TV as well. So look out for that. It's just got a normal TV you're going to use it on. You look around the back, it hasn't got this D socket, which makes this machine a little bit older than one that has got an HDMI, so just bear that in mind. Another telltale sign, just got this socket here, quite an old machine. Got the HDMI, a little bit newer, but still quite an old machine, but that way a bit more convenient for you to plug into your TV, and it saves you getting separate speakers as well. So that's something else to bear in mind. If you really have to, don't spend a lot, get one of these old ones. Try and get one with HDMI if you haven't got a dedicated monitor. It's been a long video. I feel like Martin Lewis on the TV. He goes on right now, don't stop talking. And that's how I feel. And I know I talk fast, and you can slow me down. You can get subtitles underneath if you really want to know the information I've given out. Not saying this is the best information in the world or anything like that, don't get me wrong, but I just don't want people to waste their money. I don't want you to go and buy £200 machines.